Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry, and it's time for some more of Steve Jackson's Sorcery. Now, I have received a number of missives from a great sorcerer Pendel, informing me that essentially the only thing I did wrong, the only mistake I've made so far, is going back and attempting to correct my mistakes. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open the Froben door and pass through it. And I'm going to head up the tower and defeat the Archmage, as I have done a number of times before now. It's fall, isn't it? And once I've done that, I will escape from Mampang with the crown and travel back to Analand, where once again Froben the Necromancer will confront me, mocking me for having failed to overcome his spell. Hang on. So I have to interact with the door first to trigger it. I should have at least looked at it then. Oh well. No. Here we go. Once I've done that, I will do the one thing I didn't do. You see, it was obvious to... I hate it when they put a letter behind a letter and then insist on making you click on the one at the back even though you obviously didn't want to. Okay, read the message and then cast a spell. It would seem... No, there's an R there. It would seem there are quite a few hidden endings within the game that can effectively only be discovered on subsequent playthroughs. Here we go. And I'm inside. So, I'm going to continue. And I'll catch up with you all soon. Back in a bit. Finally, the great bird settles to earth in the long grass beside the Cantopani Road, just in sight of the Shamutanti Wall. "This is home, is it?" Jan asks. "Seems nice." He hops off your arm and begins scrabbling away. "Let's go!" But Flanker is hovering, seemingly holding back. "What ails you?" you ask, turning to your masked friend. "I have faced many things," he replies, "but the attentions of a crowd has not been one of them." "Then be my shadow," you reply kindly. He nods. "You may not see me, but I will be there." Then once again you see Froben the beggar approaching, laughing at you for failing to lift his terrible curse. It seems that all these options to return to an earlier portion of the adventure and try to fix the error of my ways rely heavily on player knowledge that I do not yet have. They would involve doing extremely specific things in the Archmage's Citadel that I have no idea of doing. That is to say, I've been informed relatively, in reasonably good terms, what needs to be done. And yes, it is pretty much things you wouldn't generally do without prior knowledge. So, I will have to ignore the beggar for now. Returning the crown to Analand is theoretically more important than me having to replay this over and over and over again. So, I can ask Flanker to kill me. I can kill myself. Or I can continue. So, what would I do if I returned to the Archmage's domain of Mampang? It would seem the actions that I would need to take in Mampang do not lie within the Archmage's tower. In fact, in the tower I did everything pretty much correctly. Pretty much. Depending on your outlook. And it is outside, in those cursed enchanted towers on either side, that I would need to do things. There's also other things I would need to do. There's things I could have done better in Book 3 that I wouldn't have done had I not known of them, unless it was by sheer happenstance. And essentially, going back to undo all those now would involve replaying so much. So let us ignore the beggar for now, and at least have one happy ending. Or at least hopefully moderately happy. We'll see if the king orders me executed for having been powerful enough to bring the crown to him. You let the beggar go. This is your moment, and no vagabond will spoil it. You make your way to the Shamutanti gate. Bearing in mind that when I die, I will be whisked back to the Archmage's domain. And you know what? I should take pride in my achievement, right? As you approach the gates, you feel the benevolence of Khare spreading across you. You have done well, Analand, the fat god beams. You have brought a peace. You pause beside the enormous sealed gates. I could shout. I think I'll have a little more dignity at first. You draw your assassin's sword and knock on the gate with the pommel. I think I recognize this picture from way back in the end. A sergeant appears at the top of the wall, one you do not recognize. Why do I not? Look, I don't know everyone in the army. I don't know everyone in the kingdom. Has there been a regime change while I was away? I have returned, you declare, holding the crown aloft. For a moment the young woman stares, and then a great cry goes up across all the sentry positions, an outpouring of joy and relief. Jan elbows you. They like you. Flanker lowers his eyes to the ground. The gates are thrown wide. You walk through the wall into your home. Wait, I didn't... Home, the country, not home, the hut in the village. I don't think that was my home. I think that was just a staging point before the beginning of my journey. You and Flanker are hoisted aloft and carried all the way along the northern passage, Jan clinging to your shoulder. You have saved the old world from the Archmage and restored the ancient order of things. The king and the thanks of 5 kingdoms await. Stories will be sung of the Analander who walked the old world and returned alive. The effects of your journey will be felt from Analand to the Zanzanus. Soon every village and every something will know, and when the Baklands are rebuilt, it will be in your honour. The Archmage is dead. His people will rise up and be free. This is book 2. But you yourself still suffer Froben's curse. One day you will die and return to the citadel of sorcerers, doomed to enact it all over again. Perhaps next time You will find a way to save yourself. And the book free map. We get the title displayed proudly. There's probably some really great classical music I recognise playing at the moment that I can't hear because of YouTube copyright. And here's a scroll hovering, waiting for me. It says click to open. The beautiful light around it cuts off really suddenly here. Not so much on this side. Your 45-day journey is complete, covering all 4 parts of the Sorcery adventure. You returned the Crown of Kings to Analand with Flanker and Jan. Along the way you killed the Archmage, were cursed to eternal death by Froben, and destroyed Mampang. You have finished with 15 maximum stamina, no gold pieces, 3 of 5 hidden spells, 8 deaths sustained, and you follow Khare, the god of grace. I have saved a cloud, and continue. Why, what's this? What have it... There is apparently an option for when I perish. I will be cursed to do it all over again. Continue without play, so won't be able to access new game. Okay, fine. Cloud save name is once again Butem. So what is this? Is this the beautiful end credits showing me all the wonderful, magnificent people who've worked on this game? Yes, it is. It has been a truly epic journey, and yet I sense it might not be over yet. Let's see if I can skip this. Of course, John Blanche's beautiful artwork, and we got the new art by Eddie Sharam for some of the characters. Okay, no, I can just... Fine, that worked. You have been granted a single story rewind. I don't know if I can save now, but I think I know where I'm going to go. So, whoa. So, I'm going to go back into the Archmage's Tower, down to the bottom of it. And this is where things get a little bit tricky. If I go any further than this... Easy. If I go any further than this, I'll need to redo an awful lot. So, if I go further than this, I get to keep my disguise. Hello. Easy. So... I'm tempted to go to here, just before I had to my first run-in with Froben and his wicked curse. If I do that, and go back beyond this rewind, I lose the key, which will enable me to get Jan out of his cell and defeat the Archmage. I think I need to go back to here, where I will have the key, because if I do whatever I do in here that will break the curse, I will no longer have access to the Z spell. Which would mean I also need a way... Wait, but if I break the curse, does that also... It's possible breaking the curse will break the Froben doors, at least as I've been informed. because he wouldn't have been able to enchant them in the first place. I think I do need that key. So, come on. So here we go. So this is the final run, as it were. And then back here, we're in our Monksters guise. So, there we go. See, that is very healthy. This is after numerous attempts now. I do feel this is where I need to go. I've done everything I need to up to this point. It would... Whoa! Weather... Thank you. Oh, that could have been disastrous. I think I would have had to stop that right there. So, at this point then... At this point, I have effectively completed the quest. However, there are so many secrets still to be revealed. This is a deviously cunning game with many layers, and I can see why it is the favourite of many, many players. Players like layers, I suppose. Many layers, many players. Now... I have been feeling for the last few episodes a bit of resentment of this game, a desire to just get it all over with and complete it, so that I can play other things. How many months ago was it now that I said I wanted to start a Lone Wolf marathon after I finished Sorcery? I've also got some other Fighting Fantasy books to go back and finish, like Freeway Fighter has received a number of requests, I know that. I'm not ignoring the comments on those videos of people asking me to continue them. And then there's Baldur's Gate 3 coming out soon, and I'd love to dive back into that. In fact, I've been trying to avoid too much of a hype recently so I don't burn out before release. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to abandon this playthrough. I'm not going to call it complete, but this is essentially an ending, a success, of which I should be proud and incredibly grateful as well. But I'm not going to give up. I think I will continue and try to get a better ending where I break the curse. I will try a bit in this episode, a bit more episode length. But this series is going to go on the back burner a bit. I know there's been times when it's gone massively on hold, and I really should explain that. You see, I've essentially been repeatedly casting the Dock spell to counter the Z spell in real life for about 7 months now, and it's pretty exhausting. I do have an elderly relative who's been unwell, who I've had to look after constantly, and it's meant that games like this, where now this is good because the game only moves when I move, but games like Darkest Dungeon or Elden Ring or anything with an active constant passage of time, where if I stop recording and I go away and I come back and start recording again, something will have happened and I can't just reload the save so that you guys don't miss anything. Those games have all been on the back burner in favour of turn-based games, which I could play, and, well, games with a solid save and reload system, where I could just stop recording, save, and reload if I had to stop mid-session. Those have been the heavy focus of this channel for the last 7 months. And, things are getting better. They're much better than they were 7 months ago. So I just have to hope that casting the Dock spell and the Res spell keep helping. I definitely cast the res spell to counter the Z spell back in December. And my goodness, I'm so glad that I did. If I had not done that, it would have been really bad. So yeah, I've had a lot of unfortunate stuff going on in my life at the moment. So let's go back to this point here, inside the Citadel. Now, the important thing I wanted to point out is, of course, going back to this point with the key means I no longer have my disguise, which means I essentially can't go down that alleyway ever again, because the red eyes will kill me on my return. I will go back to here. Oh shit, you bastard cunt face! No! Oh, you absolute git bitch. Right. Well, no key. All right. Does that undo my clues? I believe it does. So what I need to do now, for fuck's sake, is go all the way back up here, get killed by the Archmage in his demonic form, get the key from the prison cell, come all the way back down here, and then do what needs to be done in here. Now, other stuff. So that means I do have my beeswax and can come back here again. I will obviously... Where, oh where... is my beeswax? 2. Okay, so it might be... I'm going to need the other one in one of these towers. So essentially what I need to do... All these towers on this side give me stuff I need to know and are helpful and useful. All these towers on this side give me stuff I need to know which are helpful and useful. The Goblin Tower of Goblin Death, which is one of these 3... is it the Ram, the Goblins? It's one of these towers here in this cluster that I must enter. And in that tower, I need to do a very specific chain of choices which will trigger an event that will break the Z spell. Then I need to come back out here, go up here, do a perfect run, defeat the Archmage, and return to Analand with the crown. Obviously, that is going to take a lot of time. In that time, I may attempt to explore the treasure chambers under here, but I have my doubts. I could explore these again to find and learn more counterspells. But essentially there's nothing over here that I absolutely need to complete my quest. That means I don't have my instructions through the through the mental maze of nightmare stuff here. So essentially, yes. I'll go get that key now off camera and return here to back where I meant to be. That's going to take a little bit of a while though. Now. Oh, also turns out Bria wasn't that that young woman under the tree. Instead, I think she was the girl in the village in Book 3 who'd lost her dog that had gone into the caves, and that I met coming out of the other town by the... You remember when I said there seemed to be a lot of little girls in this adventure? And I mentioned how, you know, there can be little boys and little girls, and there seemed to be a disproportionate amount of girls. It would seem that a lot of them may have been the same girl. Now, the beggar could be the same woman. I can't remember. And I should probably avoid any great risks at this point and just try and keep it simple. In many ways, the end with the Archmage being confused and not knowing what we're doing, there's something that doesn't quite sit right with that. Because he had a whole spiel prepared to dominate me of the crown, right? And there are things he said in that conversation that contradict him not knowing what I'm doing or why I'm there, everything, you know, when I do turn up. So, but it does make him a more sympathetic character. I shall become the Archmage. Now this is horrible, horrible, horrible foreshadowing. For if I were to wear the crown, I could become the Archmage himself and let out a reign of terror. But would I then be literally the Archmage? Is he me? Is he a former version of me who donned the crown and was swayed by its power? Am I the Archmage? Is that why the Archmage is so terrified of the Analander coming to kill him? Is it that the only thing that can defeat the Archmage is essentially himself? And am I hinting at this here? Quite possibly. Well, I've got a decent amount of backtracking to do. So, I think you'd all better leave me to it. I'll say goodbye for now and see you all soon. Fear not, there are other games I should be playing that will be featured on the channel. Lots of game books that I want to play. I want to go back and have another bash at Bloodsword and Way of the Tiger and all sorts. I'll see what I get the energy to go for first. But for now, Sorcery is not over. Not at all. It might be a bit of a while before the next episode comes up, say maybe a week or so. But I'm definitely going to try and finish it. It's just going to take me a little bit more time. And if I end this one just around now, I might have enough time to record something else tonight as well. And then I'll have stuff to... because I probably won't be able to record Thursday night, so getting an extra thing in my backlog will be good. And it does seem that allowing the Samaritans of Shin to fly me directly to the Archmage would have been very foolish, and I'm glad that I never did. Alright. I'll bid you all a very fond farewell. If you choose to stick around and see the other stuff I upload, I'll really appreciate that. And if you don't, if you want to just head off, do your own thing, that's fine. Although, give it a few weeks and search for more sorcery videos and I might have finished this by then. For now though, I'll say goodbye and thank you very much for watching. Cheerio.